Hi guys. So hopefully this stream is smoother than the last video. I'm still having really weird technical problems with cameras, so who knows? But so we're going to talk about the Venus retrograde that starts in a couple weeks. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube after the fact, not in the membership, this was published in the membership on November 21st. So just as a reminder that you can get these videos super early and know the energy like way sooner than you normally would. So Venus entered Capricorn on November 5th, and she's going to be in Capricorn until March 5th. She will ingress to Aquarius. Actually, she's ingressing to Aquarius on March 5th, late in the day. Venus entered her pre-retrograde shadow period at 11 degrees on November 17th. So a few days ago, I think it was Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, she entered the pre-shadow retrograde. So what does that mean? So the pre-shadow retrograde is the same degrees that she will travel while in retrograde. So she'll start retrograde at 26 degrees and she will travel to 11 degrees. And then when she goes direct again, she'll start direct at 11 degrees and travel forward, and she will come out of her post-shadow period when she hits that 26 degrees where she began that retrograde. Do you see? And that was kind of a concept that was a little difficult for me to understand. So you might want to rewind that back and listen to it a couple times to really, really get it. The pre-shadow period is going to be from 11 degrees until the day she goes retrograde at the 26th degree. And that day is on December 19th. And then Venus will station direct at 11 degrees on January 29th, where she will, for the third time, go over the degrees from 11 degrees to 26 degrees. So also knowing those degrees, you can look in your chart where Capricorn is, and you can see where the degrees between 11 and 26 degrees Capricorn are, and you can see where Venus is traveling in your chart. She's transiting in your chart in that area. I'm going to go through each of the rising signs. First, we're going to talk about like what this generally means for the collective, and then I'll go through each of the rising signs as well to tell you guys what might happen during this Venus retrograde. It's kind of a big deal. Like Venus being in Capricorn for 4 months, exactly for 4 months, that is a big deal. Venus doesn't particularly like being in Capricorn. So if after this reading you would still like to have a little bit more in-depth detail at the transits that are going to happen while Venus is in retrograde, specifically with your chart, I do have a reading, a Venus in Capricorn retrograde reading. All of that information is in the description box. So you can check that out. What's really interesting is during this time, there's also going to be a Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, and Mercury will regress to Capricorn and then ingress back into Aquarius again when he goes direct. So Venus and Mercury will be retrograde in Capricorn at the same time, like mid-January or something like that. So very interesting. So Venus in Capricorn, generally the expectations of partnership, money, and career are pretty high. Like Capricorns really look at relationships like they have very high expectations of their partner in relationships, just because they have high expectations for themselves, and they can't be around people that can't do for themselves, for sure. Capricorn Venus holds these standards because they also understand that anything, because they're ruled by Saturn, that anything done with time and effort will always pay off in the end. And usually you get bigger rewards when you're more patient about it. So Capricorn Venus appreciates the foundation and structure of relationships of all types. Venus isn't particularly comfortable here, but she understands why things have to be done the way that they have to be done. It's kind of like Venus and Virgo. Like Venus doesn't particularly like the fact that Virgo is so picky, but it makes Virgo more of service oriented to the people that they love. So it's kind of like that give and take, that just because Venus doesn't like being there doesn't mean that it's not effective or good for partnerships and such. So Venus retrograde in Capricorn is asking all of us to be really sure that the relationship boundaries that we hold for ourselves, the relationship that we have with money, the relationship that we have with monetary items, the relationship that we have with our careers, the relationship that we have with other people, depending on who they are our boundaries? Are we upholding them? Are we standing firm on them? You're going to see in a lot of ways where Venus is going to show you how you need to be more structured when it comes to your finances, or you need to understand that the reason why you're miserable at work is because you're not living it through your truth or through your heart, and that's going to create a shift for you. And, there are other things that are going to be happening. The North Node will be going to Taurus during this time. We'll have that Mercury retrograde during this time. And really creating high expectations of ourselves in moments is always going to create that disappointment too. So having high expectations of ourselves creates high expectations that we have on other people. And those are the boundaries that we have to look at the most, the ones that we have with ourselves, because we create the reality that we're in, right? And if we are not holding ourselves to our truth standard, which isn't necessarily like this really huge high expectations, you need to, accomplish all of this and be this kind of person. It's not about that. It's about how we're really allowing ourselves to look at our own truth, and really how we're looking at our own self-worth and our own value in the places that we position ourselves in life, the relationships that we position ourselves in life. So think about that as we go through each of the rising signs. Where might you need to have a little stronger boundaries with yourself, and where might you need to have stronger boundaries with other people as well? Okay. First house, Capricorn risings. Venus will be transiting your first house. And remember, again, with rising signs, if it's a later degree, then the rising sign shifts. So it would be the next sign that you would want to look at. So Capricorn risings, you're creating personal boundaries for your own self by watching your spending, by watching the time that you give out to other people. And this time during Venus retrograde, self-care has to be a priority. And that is really hard for a Capricorn to do sometimes, to be able to, say, okay, I'm just going to not do work things today. I'm going to relax and I'm going to do some self-care things. That is not an easy thing for you to do. So this Venus in retrograde is going to show you how you not providing self-care can result in you getting sick, you being exhausted, things not working properly, things getting really, really bumpy, stuff like that. You miss details at work, stuff like that could be a problem. So really make sure that you're getting a lot of rest and taking care of yourself. The 12th house, Aquarius. The way you are speaking to yourself is the key to this transit. Those things that go on in your mind at dark and at night when nobody else is there and you're trying to go to sleep and your mind is in an uproar and it's just all over the place. the words that you're speaking or the things that you're saying are going to be very important to your well-being. So make sure that you're creating a safe space for yourself. Probably try and do a lot of meditations. I know that that's really hard to do being an air sign, but find one that works for you. Any kind of guided meditations that might work for you. Really creating that safe space for yourself on the inside, though, especially because you're going to have to be around family members and stuff. And if you get triggered by the things that family members say, you want to be able to effectively like react in like a mature kind of way. That could be really, could be some things that people say where they're not meaning to trigger you and they do it anyway. So really pay attention to the narrative that you have going on in your mind, because that could perpetuate any outside trigger that happens to you. Let's see, 11th house, Pisces rising. The boundaries in all of your community spaces and events, all of those areas, if you get together with friends once a week, if you are, like your coworker space, your peer space, stuff like that, there's this need for you to allow yourself to have boundaries, because people could project onto you anything that they're feeling unworthy about. Like, because self-worth is going to be a huge, huge, huge theme for all of this. And when other people project their own lack of self-worth onto you, you almost take that energy on and like hold it for yourself. And I don't want you to do that this time around. So you really make sure that you have boundaries. Remember that your worth does not equal the amount of friends that you have. It doesn't equal the amount of likes that you have. It doesn't equal the amount of times people retweeted you. Your worthiness is so much bigger than that. So that's what this Venus retrograde, and it might teach you that in not so comfortable ways. Like you might like recognize, I don't know, how you can say something on the internet and somebody takes it like really, really personally in the wrong way, and they start projecting onto you for no good reason, and then your whole day is ruined, right? You're learning how to have boundaries in situations like that, where in your spaces, in your community spaces, people might project onto you how they're feeling about situations. And so this is showing you your own self-worth and how to have boundaries there. Aries, this may be a time that you reconsider your career that you're in and or how you're going to be making money. Some of you might decide that you want to have your own business. The only thing that I would say with that is, if you do decide during this time that you want to have your own business, make the plans during Venus retrograde, but don't actually pull the trigger and like make the business until after Venus goes direct on January 29th, because you don't want to start a business during Venus retrograde. That would just, like, there would just be so many bumps and bruises. Like, you would rather have a smoother sailing kind of beginning than a Venus retrograde. Don't be surprised if an office romance presents itself to you if you're single. That is really something that could happen with you guys. Make sure that if you're wanting to change a brand or change your image or something like that, that you again do all the planning during Venus retrograde and maybe make the announcement after Venus retrograde. Taurus rising, 9th house. This is the Venus is transiting your 9th house. Any kind of bigger picture projects that you put away for a rainy day, like in the past, like anything that you've had in the past, like bring it back up, resurrect it, and reassess it and really look at it, because it could bring in more money for you, or it could bring money in for you this time. Like, for example, like if you decided in the past that you wanted to have some kind of side hustle and it didn't really work for you in the past, resurrect it during this Venus retrograde. It's almost like you can recognize the details that you might have missed last time and sort of pull things together in a different kind of way. Plus, the energy is different now than it was the last time you tried to do something like that. And maybe you just needed to have a different look or create it in a different way. So something like that. But really, things that are really helping you to expand from the past will show back up again. Old loves from the past that maybe like helped you expand in the past may kind of come back up in your atmosphere. I wouldn't be surprised. Some people that like were integral in your expansion of knowledge and life and stuff like that, those people may show back up. You may also feel really restless and want to explore. It might be a good time for you to start planning a trip. I wouldn't do the trip during the Mercury retrograde, for sure. But, and that is again in the middle of January. So, but this is really going to help you. Like this is going to you're going to want to explore life a little bit more. The things that have interested you in the past, they may come back and you have this desire to explore more of life and love in the world around you. The 8th house, Gemini rising, you may find yourself faced with looking at some kind of debt that you'll need to pay back. Like maybe that you didn't realize that you had that debt, or you thought you had paid it back, or you need to find a receipt to show that you paid it back. Something like that might happen. Any kind of arguments or beef that you've had with people from your past may come back so that you can end that cycle. There's something about the people that you have shared spaces with in the past, or maybe you shared financial situations with in the past. There's something about you wrapping the cycle up and completing it and getting like laying things to rest so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Deep intimacy work within your own relationships, that might be a thing. Like you might end up focusing on needing to heal your own relationships as well. 7th house, Cancer rising is the 7th house. Venus will be transiting your 7th house. So questions around your relationships and possibly bringing back the magic of relationships could come up. There could be doubt cast on relationships that aren't steady, that don't feel like they're balanced. Any boundaries because other people are going to project onto you. Again, there's this value and self-worth. I'll tell you the same thing that I told, what was it, Pisces rising and Aries rising. Like people are going to project onto you because their own self-worth values are going to also be in question, and some people aren't going to like that. So just make sure that your boundaries are airtight and that you're able to uphold them with other people. Leo rising, this is in the 6th house. You may feel like a change needs to happen in your workplace, or you may even consider self-employment. You too might have the desire to just quit your job and start your side hustle, or have your side hustle be the number one way that you're making money now. Just remember, again, I wouldn't start the business. Like if the business is already started, by all means, make the change. I wouldn't make life-altering changes during any Mercury retrograde, but sometimes I understand that, like, you just can't help it. Sometimes things happen where you're just like, enough is enough and I'll be done. Or this is how it's going to go. Like, I started my channel during Mercury retrograde, so, like... And now I'm seeing the reason why you don't start a channel during Mercury retrograde. There's just this lull that's been happening for a couple of years. So, but no big deal. We're still going. But this may be you placing yourself in situations that are involving pets. Like make sure, like maybe take your pets to the vet. Make sure that their health is doing well. Like during Mercury retrogrades, we want to take our car to get all, taken care of and make sure that it's upgraded and make sure all of our technology is up to date and upgraded and stuff. Well, during a Venus retrograde, we want to do that with our animals, and we want to do that with our plants, and we want to do that with anything that is really things that bring joy, right, in life, and especially with the sixth house people. And you're going to be able to tell. It's like you're going to have this heart tug, like, oh, wow, I have to go take care of this kind of thing now. I wouldn't launch, again, any new businesses during this time. But during retrogrades, it's definitely a good time to plan. Make sure, and this would also be a really good time, Leo risings, for you to reassess your beauty and exercise routines. There may be something that you're missing. And like if you start to notice that maybe your skin is breaking out or something like this during this time, you may want to switch up a beauty routine. That would probably be a good idea. If you want to get your hair cut, I would actually wait until the retrograde is over to like get any like big beauty things done. That goes for anybody. You know, if you have a plan to have like Botox done or something like that during Venus retrograde, I don't know that I would do that. I feel like that might not be a good idea. But to each their own, do what you need to do. Virgo risings. Venus is going to transit your 5th house. So, so the 5th house has a lot to do with has a lot to do with sex. The 5th house and the 8th house actually have a lot to do with sex. So we also want to make sure Gemini rising and Virgo risings, both of you, make sure that if you do not want to get pregnant, abstain from sex during this time, because that 99% of protection, that will just probably not even exist anymore. So if you don't want to get pregnant, the best way to not do that is to just abstain. I know that is for some of you not ideal, or you don't necessarily want to do that. Just be really extra careful. Virgo risings, be very careful. Any creative projects from the past may pop back up in order for you to reassess so that you can have rewards from them. So again, just like Gemini risings or Taurus risings, yeah, just like Taurus risings, Virgo, if you have things that show up that like maybe you had a side hustle or a project in the past, and this would be a really good time to revive that and bring it back and maybe tweak it and change it a little bit, and then like announce that it's back after Venus goes direct. Sometimes relationships can take a break during this time. Or you may finally admit that things aren't working out. Like, even though things haven't been working out for a while, this may be the time where you're just like, wow, man, everything that's happening is showing me that this relationship just is not it. You may finally be able to admit that to yourself. I wouldn't start any new relationships during this time. And flings are kind of iffy as well. So just be careful when it comes to any kind of relationship, when it comes to like intimate relationships or romantic relationships. Focus on your creativity and bringing things up and bringing things back. 4th house, Libra. Venus is going to be transiting your 4th house, Libra rising. So focusing on security, your home, your life and your home life and nurturing for this Venus RX. You may be learning how to reparent yourself after a childhood that wasn't necessarily nurturing. Issues around projects at home could come up or into focus. Like, you may find yourself, I know that it's the holidays, and so a lot of people are going to be decorating, and I think Libra risings are actually, might actually get into that. They might get into, I say actually because I don't really get into decorating. I don't know, maybe I'll feel like doing it. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, that could be that you just want to fix your house up and make it look pretty. But there could also be like things about the structure that need to also be looked at or something like that. So just pay attention to anything about the home environment that needs to be fixed. You may also just finding yourself just wanting to keep it nurtured, like in however you feel comfort, whether you like candles or you do the incense thing or whatever makes your house feel like home to you. That is the direction that you're going to be leading yourself in during this Venus retrograde. But yeah, you want to feel the nurturing. And you're going to be doing a lot of reparenting yourself probably as well. Learning how to reparent yourself. Wounds from childhood traumas may come up, or any kind of childhood wounds just may come up and surface just in order for you to heal. It'll just help you heal a little more. Scorpio risings, this Venus retrograde will be transiting your 3rd house, and this may bring up some weak spots in your communication at work or in relationships, specifically with your siblings. You might hear from your siblings and be like, why are you not talking to me? Something like that. This is in order for you to also understand that communicating your needs effectively can often open up more opportunities. So if you have found yourself recently not being able to express what you need, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's at work, whether it's with your family, whatever it is, Venus retrograde is going to be helping you to learn how to express yourself in different kind of ways so that you can open yourself up a little bit more. Sagittarius rising, Venus retrograde is transiting your 2nd house. Venus rules the 2nd house, so you're going to probably feel this retrograde pretty heavily. This could be where you finally make a decision to change jobs, but really be sure that you make the plans before Venus goes direct. Don't change the job unless you absolutely have to. I would not change jobs in the middle of the Venus retrograde. Wait until it's direct. Lots of relationship boundaries are going to be a thing here. You are going to be, the reason why you may change jobs dramatically, the reason why you may have relationship issues show up, you may have financial things show up, is it's going to focus on all things Venetian, which is relationships, which is career, which is money, which is self-worth. And you're getting like a double dose of that. So really making sure that the boundaries are there and caring for yourself, because it's like your views, your own personal value system, your own views have changed dramatically, and you can't go back to just being who you used to be for everybody because they want you to be, they have this perception of you. They have this idea of who you are to them. Sorry, there's something in my eye. But yeah, you can't just go back to being that person. And this Venus retrograde is going to show you where your boundaries need to be in order for you not to go back to being the person that other people would rather, have this perception of who you are. So, all right, guys. I love you all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me through this. And if you want to get a reading to look a little bit deeper into what this Venus retrograde is going to mean for you, the information for that reading is in the description box. I love you guys. Take care.